Hey guys, welcome to a review of our 6th session. Unfortunately not a very successful one for me, nor probably, well, definitely not a successful one for my allies, especially Russia, which is now a Soviet Union. So first of all, there was a war between, that we started between Italy, Ottoman Empire. That was the initial war, and then later on France and Russia and Persia joined in another war against Ottoman Empire, Germany, Austria and Scandinavia. Now, during that war there was also a huge war between UK, Japan on one side and the other side USA. No, Canada didn't join that war on the other side, and I think that was a correct choice. Grand Colombia, I believe they didn't join any of the wars. They're currently allied to Japan in the sphere of UK, so I believe they're probably going to stay neutral, or maybe they will break out of UK sphere if USA has something to offer. Although Grand Colombia is really not a very strong country. They do have decent military tech, but they're, I don't know, it really seems like they should have more army with the 1.5 million population. Also Brazil, I think Brazil is even doing worse. Well, actually they have decent military tech, but they have only 22 brigades, and that's very low for Brazil at this point in the game. I think Brazil should be one of the contenders for the great power spot. At least they should be the size of Spain, which let me check. Well, they're not even close, so Brazil is doing really bad. On the other side we have, well, fully occupied, well, fully controlled Austro-Hungarian Asia, which is a huge chunk here, and that's something to be considered really. I think this will make some deals different, go a different way. For example, Japan might be interested in taking this, even though Japan was previously allied to Austria-Hungary, so I'm not sure how Austria was allowed to get this. I don't think that was a reasonable choice. I guess UK would rather have Austria taking this than Japan or someone else who could actually hurt them. At this point, Austria really can't do anything about UK. They are not a threat to UK, and definitely if Japan or USA or even one of the colonial powers get this, then that would be a threat for UK. This way they'll just keep Austria as their ally and keep them here. Better have a weak ally near you than a potential strong enemy. So another session when TJ playing Netherlands. If you're watching his YouTube channel, that's Project Cerebral or whatever. I don't know, he has some really bad internet issues or whatever, but he missed too many sessions and I have to replace him because many of the countries wanted to attack Netherlands during the previous 2 sessions and even earlier, but I had Netherlands as protected because I thought he would be back. Well, he really came back, but he's not always there, so I can't really count on him, and that's why I have to. Well, I'm not kicking him out of the game. He needs to switch to a country that is less, that is going to cause less conflicts in Europe. Although Netherlands is probably going to be in the next war regardless. So the situation in the previous war was really grim. Obviously we lost the war. I mean both wars. I'm not too sad about losing the war, but I was kind of pissed by the way in which we lost the war. And that was mostly all of my troops were shackled, or they were either fighting or they were protecting important strategical processes like here in Balkans. I think that there was no move that I could have done there. I had a huge chance of pushing through Ottoman Empire and Austria, and I actually did manage to defeat them in initial battles in the previous session, but that didn't help because Germany just, after steamrolling Russia, they just pulled a lot of troops from their central Germany and reinforced it front. Now the plan was that France needed to make a big move, but I was quite disappointed with France on what they did in the war. So there were three ideas basically. So there was one idea that I wanted to support strongly, but no one else but me wanted to actually do it. Let me go to plans. Okay, plan. Should go with arrows probably. Okay, there we go. And color. Let's go with red. So the first plan that I thought it would work because Austria had a lot of troops here, and their front was collapsing, so Germany had to reinforce in the south. So I thought, well, Germany had too many troops here in Soviet Union. Well, actually that was Russia at that time, and they had barely any troops here. Well, this was secured. Like Alsace-Lorraine and the provinces around it were secured. They had a lot of troops there, but they didn't have enough reinforcements. So I wanted France to go here and attack into Austria and open a new front. Like, if this went through, I think I would at least win my war. And then maybe, if Russia could just retreat to the east, we could have turned the war around. Because Germany had to move back their troops, fall back here, and even if they weren't being pushed by Russia, just them moving troops and stopping the advance into Russia would actually give some time to Russia to reinforce and get some troops. And they would probably, I guess they would push us back slowly, but that time would be very important because Russia would get reinforcements and Russia would basically be able to stabilize the front. And once they stabilize the front, I think that just war exhaustion that we cause to them would be the key thing that would turn the war into our favor. Also, even though wait a moment, sorry. Okay, there. So even though if we were seriously losing in Russia, every battle that we fought in Russia was losing. I also tried to reinforce Russian front, and I had like 300,000 here. But they didn't help much because Scandinavia joined, and they kind of used the system that works like if Scandinavia is in a war with Russia, but they're not in a war with me, and even if only one regiment of Scandinavian troops is in the battle, I can't reinforce Russia because I'm not in the war with Scandinavia, so that's kind of annoying. But anyway, the key moment in the war was UK giving war subsidies to Germany, Austria, and Ottoman Empire. Actually, Ottoman Empire wasn't doing that terribly in terms of money, but their war exhaustion was almost 60% or something like that, crazy. Like, Germany was in a huge debt. I checked the save later on, and in the middle of the war, Germany had 5 million debt. Austria, I think Austria had even more, like Austria had 6 million debt or something. So I don't actually understand how they didn't go bankrupt during the war, but that should have happened. And if that happened, I would just be able to crush their troops. Crush their troops, move into southern Serbia here, get Balkans, and also push here. And if I push there, then I would have great defensive lines. And they wouldn't be able to kick me out of Austria. And at that point, I would just, even without Russia and Germany and France, sorry, I would be able to win my war at least. So, unfortunately that didn't happen, and really the war subsidies that UK gave them worked, and they somehow survived the war, so they won. I actually didn't lose that much by losing the war. I lost Liberia. I should have lost Benin also, but I don't know, they fucked up something and I didn't lose it. But I was also cut down to size, which meant I lost all of my navy, well, remaining navy, because my navy was also kind of destroyed, although I was rebuilding it. But also I lost almost all of the brigades I had, even though I didn't lose much during the war. So that kind of hurt me, and I was forced to pay reparations to Ottoman Empire. So beating my mortal enemy, not a great thing. Unfortunately, it took me a really long time to rebuild, and also I was getting no money because of the reparations. So if you don't know how the reparations work, the more money you make, the more money you give to your enemy. So the best way to save some money and not to give your enemy too much money is to lower tariffs to 0 and lower taxes as much as you can. But unfortunately, even with tariffs at 100% and max taxes, I was actually losing money. So I had to lower military spending and every other spending, so I lost quite some research points, unfortunately. And yeah, so that was really painful 5 years for Italy. Now I'm slowly rebuilding, but another problem is that as soon as that war was done, Germany attacked Soviet Union again, and the problem was that Russia and France peaced out before I did, so actually I didn't really want to join that war because there was nothing for me to fight there. We couldn't save Russia, so they lost Kiev, and that's a huge blow for them. It's a really important strategical position, but maybe it could be actually potentially beneficial for them. Now they also have some treaties to regarding that peace with Germany, so I think they are giving up a few of the territories here to Ottoman Empire and maybe something to Austria, although I'm not 100% sure. Now there is diplomacy is developing so that there are Central Powers, Germany, Austria, Ottoman Empire, now joined by Persia and UK officially, also backed by Belgium and I believe Netherlands. So they are very strong. I believe Scandinavia is on their side. Oh, Scandinavia is getting this, by the way. So Scandinavia is also growing. On the other side, they have Soviet Union and France for sure. I'm kind of on the fence right now. I definitely don't get anything from joining Central Powers, but I can only lose if I join France and Soviet Union. There is a way that they could come back potentially, but it's way too situational, and there is a very grim chance of that happening actually. I believe Spain will be joining France, and that might actually save them, because with Spanish troops I think that front is unbreakable unless Germany gets machine guns before France or something like that. Also, USA is slowly growing, and actually I did expect USA to win the war against UK, but they lost it, which is quite a big surprise for me, because I thought USA would be able to build up a larger navy than UK, but apparently not the case. So that was an interesting thing to see, UK beating up USA again, and I think that war is going to happen again, probably. So now the key factor can be Japan. Who are they going to join, which side? I'm not yet sure. And I had some talks with Japan, but we didn't really agree on the same thing. So I'll be hard. With Japan on Austrian and German side, they are basically unbeatable. Of course there is also UK, but I think if I stay out of the war, UK might also stay out of the war. So let France, Soviet Union, Germany and Austria fight that. I don't know if Ottomans are going to engage into that war. Probably are. But anyway, Germany really looks scary at the moment. And even though they are not #1 at the moment, they will be very strong in short time. However, the biggest threat is actually Ottoman Empire, because they are potentially the strongest country in the game right now. The reason why they have such a potential is because of the number of the naval bases they have. Let me just change to Ottoman Empire shortly. Okay, so look at this. They have potential of 2,000 naval supply limit. Now they already have 21 battleships. That's crazy. I don't think UK has that many battleships, and they only have level 4 naval bases. Also keep in mind that those are actually states, so they're worth more than just colonial provinces like UK has. Not all of them are even level 4, so they will end up the game with some 6,000 naval supply points. That's crazy. So if they make a fleet of like 100 or 50 dreadnoughts, that's gonna be unbeatable. So that's why I consider Ottoman Empire the strongest country right now, and not Germany, which is actually, well, obviously quite scary because they have, I think, more population than Soviet Union. So obviously they have the largest standing army in Europe. Actually, compare sliders. Brigades, UK, yeah, in mainland Europe, Germany, but Germany and Austria both have more than France, and then France and Ottoman Empire have almost the same amount. Now, it's not the... Actually, that's not a realistic picture. So, when you go to soldier pops, 1.2 million Germany, Soviet Union 1.1, and then Japan and France is actually above Austria because of the mobilization size. I'm also kinda high because of the mobilization size, even though I don't have that many soldiers at the moment. So, as of my plans for the next session, I think I can't make like direct plans. I have to react to what other people do. So I'll make an episode of Secret Files, Italian Secret Files, for the upcoming session, and that will be released probably during the session or shortly after the beginning of the next session. So that's tomorrow, Saturday, around, let's say, 1:30 if you are in USA, that's EST, or Central European Time, that's 7:30. So I really, there are a few things that I need to mention, and I couldn't mention here because then my potential enemies would know what I'm planning. And most of those plans are basically reactions to all the possible actions that some countries might take. So see you there and have fun.